Okay, in the last video we touched a little bit on the formatting and where to find that down here in properties, how to know what tag is or formatting is associated with that. But we also want to add a little bit more. So with this, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the CSS Designer just a little bit. Now CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And what we need to do is we need to define the styling not on an external CSS page, which we will be touching on in future assignments. For this assignment, we're going to be defining the cascading style sheets inside of the document itself. So what you need to do is you need to expand CSS Designer, and currently I'm on all, which is good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on sources here, the little plus sign that shows up. I'll click there. And then I'll say define and page. Very important that you select define and page at this moment. What will appear here is a style tag. And you'll notice over on your code hint box or your code page, you'll see that styles has been inserted into your head area, which you can't see on the document. Anything between the head area here you cannot see on the actual document itself. But you'll see that the styles are going to be defined inside of this page itself. Now going back, I'm going to insert a style. Now for this I want to go ahead and expand this out, and you'll see that I have selectors as well. But what I'm going to do is insert a div. Now what I want to do, instead of just hitting this div, and this is the very first in the HTML insert button at the very top, you'll see that this says div. Now if I click there, it'll say on insertion, and that's not really what I want. So I'm going to cancel that out. To make things easier, what you can do is you can click inside of your content and then select everything inside of that content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Control A for select all, or a Command A, which is on the Mac. So Control A or Command A, and now you can see that everything is highlighted. And I'm going to insert a div, and I'm going to click on that Insert Div under HTML, the very first little icon that appears. All right, there it is. Now, if you're not really getting anything, and I know sometimes Dreamweaver can be a little glitchy, when that starts happening, I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm going to go ahead and file save this, just so that I have everything saved that I've done so far. Again, if I click on div, it should give me this little insert div dialog box. Again, if that doesn't happen, what you can do is you could also go up to your main menu and click on Insert and select Div. Now you'll see that under the Insert tab inside there, I have a wraparound selection, which is exactly right. That's what I want to do. You also have a class and an ID. The differences between a class and an ID is that an ID is only going to affect one item on your whole page. In other words, it's a class or a setting or a style that will only apply to one div on your page. And think about it as, it's your ID. There's only one of you. It's unique. There's only one of you, so you only have one ID. That's the best way to think of it. Class can be added to multiple objects on your scene. Now, typically for a wrapper or container, you only want to have one of those on every page. So I would suggest for this div itself, ID be either wrapper or container. So you could just type that in, and and then you could either click OK or you can click on New CSS. Now we can always reach this and apply some rules to it, but I'll go ahead and do it now. You'll see that the hashtag stands for ID. If you would have selected a class, it would give you a little dot or a period. So I'll go ahead and leave it at that and click OK. And then you'll have a CSS rule definition for wrapper. Now again, you could always come back and add or subtract any of these rules that I'm going to define for this particular wrapper. But what I want to do is I want to add a background color. So I'll go ahead and add one of my favorite colors here, which are kind of a bluish teal colors. And you can even add some transparency, but right now I'll just leave it at that and click on the next category. So again, that was under background. Now here under categories, you could also select the font family. And we'll dive deeper into the font itself in a minute, but for now, just add a background color. We'll go to box, which will allow us to add some padding, as I had mentioned for this. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the content will be centered in a web page. So for this, what you want to do is for same for all for the top, this could be 10 pixels, which is fine. We'll leave it, that'll give us some padding on the top, right, bottom, and left. Okay, now this is for margins, so what we want to do is do uncheck the same for all, and on right we want auto, on left we want auto. That's really important for us to be able to center that. That's the key there. You always want to have your margins as right auto and left auto for anything that you want to be centered, any divs or anything like that. For the top, we can do 10 pixels and 10 pixels there too. And I'll hit apply and then OK and OK. So now you can see that inside I have a div for my container and has a color in it. And if we preview this, I'll save it, you'll see that I have everything inside of that container. Now it is also spreading out as well because there's something else that I need to do here in order for this to be a certain size and then centered. So let's do that. Let's go back to my CSS designer and then click on Style, and under Selectors is where you'll see where you've defined any Cascading Style Sheets. So click on Wrapper and then you'll see your properties. Now what I like to do is expand this out a little bit. So click and drag until your properties for that particular Cascading Style pop up on the right hand side. What I could do is also show set. You can see what's applied to this already, or uncheck this to see all. Now in my CSS designer you have some quick links here to bring you to where you want to be. So layout, text, where you can change the color of your text, add font family, font style, and so on. You can also do the borders and so on. So I've got background, and then we've got our background color here, and so on. So you'll see that I've got in my layout, I actually have my auto there, my auto there. But really what I want to focus on here is my width of my div itself. I have it not as auto, but I can do pixels, and I could put in a number there. So I can say, maybe 1000. Height can be left as auto, because it'll automatically make your content fit inside of that div. You can see what happened a little bit when I added at least 1,000. So depending on the size of your screen, you could even put 850 or so on. So there, I've added just that one width, and height is auto. Now if I preview this, and again it'll prompt you to save it every time you want to preview it, you'll see that I have some borders here in the back. So I've got some nice edges there, and it won't get any larger than that. It'll become smaller, but you'll see that your content is centered and in a nice wrapper in the very center of your browser. Next, maybe what I want to do is add a background color. So a background color is added to the body style. Now, this is another really important way to kind of start adding some formatting to this and some nice colors to it. If I go to body and then open up my design, now body does affect everything on your page. So what you want to do is make sure that you select it here in your tag selector, your quick tag selector down here, and it's right above properties. And you can see that I can target any of these properties to what we've added, even the paragraph tag or any tag. Okay. So you can see here that I have body, styles, and currently it's all, not current. Okay, so all. And then what you could do is, instead of since we didn't add the body tag and it's not allowing us to create new rules to that, we can actually select it. So here's a selector, and we'll click on the plus sign. It'll automatically give me body NP. It's picking up that paragraph. So what we want is just body. Going back to my CSS, now I have a body tag. There's nothing attached to that. I haven't made any changes to it. But what I want to do is really just add a background color. You could even add a background image and so on. But right now we're not working with images. We just want to work with the simplified just colors for now. And I can make that a darker blue. And then hit OK. Now you can see that I have a darker background. And you could always make modifications to this. Maybe I want to go in and add a little bit of transparency to my background here in that div. So I can select my selector down here. Now if you have current selected, it's not going to allow you to really pick much of anything. It'll kind of guesstimate what you want to select or what your intention is. But what I want to do is go to background color, click on my color, hit this HSLA, and maybe make that a little bit transparent. So now the colors kind of blend in a little bit more. And I'll go and preview this again. Now you'll see that I have a nice background to it. I have a div with a size of width of 950 pixels, so it won't get any larger than that. And I have a color behind that. So in the next video, I'll show you how to complete this assignment by adding some internal links, meaning that you'll have links that will jump from one place in your document to the next. For example, in the little list that we have here, if I click on Vincent van Gogh, it'll jump down to that area. So that's going to complete the assignment. So the next demo video will be precisely on that, finishing up this assignment. And until then, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.